How are all of you today? That's good. Okay, so I'm going to start off by sharing a verse with you that my friend Christian Alvarado shared with me. And it is, I don't have the verse reference, but I will share it with you. It says, "Going through the motions doesn't please you. A flawless performance is nothing to you. I learned God worship when my pride was shattered. Heart-shattered lives ready for love don't for a moment escape God's notice." All right, so if it's okay with all of you, I'm going to share my testimony a little bit here. I'll start there. Okay, so growing up, I didn't really have a lot of friends. I was kind of a different kind of kid. I don't know, I didn't really fit in much. And I was overweight, and people made fun of me for that. And I really didn't fit in. I was just different, not really accepted. I didn't know where my place was. And so as I moved into high school, I didn't want to be that person anymore. I didn't want to be associated with being called the names that I was called and not fitting in. So I started to change every part of who I was. And coming into high school, my freshman year, the summer going into sophomore year, I weighed 160 pounds. And I don't know, I just didn't want to be that person anymore. And so at the beginning of the summer, I started at 160, and in the span of 2 months, I lost 32 pounds and weighed 128 pounds. And that was part of just changing who this person was that I didn't really like. So I was just kind of tired of the empty feeling, and besides the physical side of things, I kind of changed who I was and just did whatever it took to kind of fit into the status quo, I guess, the cool kids. And I started to kind of lose myself. I didn't really know who I was, and I pushed more and more of myself on people to try to feel that acceptance in return, and I think it kind of made it worse. Actually, like, I don't really know if people in high school, well, not all people, but I don't know if a lot of people in high school really know how to really love others. And so I would push and give all of myself out to people, and I didn't really feel that reciprocated. And I don't know, from my childhood, I still kept this lonely feeling of I'm that kid that doesn't really fit in. So I would go, I joined cross country, and I would go all day long with probably like maybe a handful of carrots and some water, and then go run 8 miles. And it just I wasn't in a very good state of mind. I messed up my liver a little bit there, and I was just kind of depressed. And so it started this kind of depression in me, this kind of loneliness, and for half of sophomore year through my junior year of high school, I was just in this depression. Like, I couldn't pull myself out of it. I didn't feel like I had anything. There were people around me, like my family and some friends that are really great, but for the most part, I felt really lonely, and I couldn't get to a place where I was satisfied with something. Like, there was always this hole inside of me. And so that's kind of where that part of the verse plays in, where it says, "Heart-shattered lives ready for love don't for a moment escape God's notice." That's not where my mind was. I was kind of like, well, God has pretty much forgotten about me, I guess, so I'll try to take it into my own hands, which goes along with the pride thing. I thought that I could do it without God. So I tried to do it without God and just realized that I was sinking farther and farther. And I don't know, to kind of make a long story short, I got to the point where I thought, how much easier would it be if I just ended my own life? Like, I didn't have to go through this anymore. I didn't feel this loneliness, this hole inside of me. It was a really scary place to be in, but luckily the time came where I went to Hume Lake Camp for the week in summer, and I was battling with God all week there, back and forth. He was saying, like, it's almost like I could hear him I didn't hear like the audible voice, but it was like in the back of my head, I could just hear him saying, it's time for you to let go of this. It's time for you to stop trying to take it into your own hands and give yourself over to me and let me be enough to satisfy you. Stop relying on people and things to fill that hole inside of you. And I know, I'm not asking for raise of hands or anything, but I know that there's some people in this room that feel that brokenness and that emptiness, and kind of the need for people to fill that hole inside of you. But what I learned was they spoke on Matthew 14:27 through 33, and that's basically the story of Peter. The disciples are all out in the boat on the Sea of Galilee, and they see this figure walking on the water, and they think it's a ghost. And Jesus says, "No, guys, it's me. It's okay." And Peter says, "Oh, yeah, well, if it's you, command me to come out on the water." And so Peter starts walking out there with Jesus Christ standing in front of him. And he's fine for the first few steps, but then the wind and the waves around him, they catch him off guard. He's like, "Whoa, this crap is scary." And then he starts to sink. And he's sinking and panicking, and that's what I was doing, is I was sinking and I was panicking. And I didn't reach out my hand. The story ends, Jesus reaches down his hand right there, like Peter, as he's sinking, feels like it's an eternity. Jesus just reaches his hand down and picks Peter up, and he said, "Oh, you have little faith." Basically, why did you doubt me? I was standing right in front of you. I was here the whole time. And so that was just kind of really symbolic and kind of an eye-opening moment. I was sinking, but all that I had to do was let go of my pride and reach up my hand and say, "God, I can't do it without you." I've been trying to fill this hole and feel loved by people. But just that moment of surrender where I said, "God, it's kind of scary, but I'm going to risk losing people that I love, and I'm going to risk losing things that I love for the sake of giving my life to you and just being a vessel for you." That was such a freeing moment, a very scary moment, by the way, but very, I felt free and liberated from that. And so things started to turn around for me at that point. And don't get me wrong, like, I still struggle to this day. I still struggle with the whole eating thing sometimes, and I struggle with, sometimes I forget that God is more than sufficient to fill my needs and stuff, and I expect that people are going to be perfect and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, guys, is that people will let you down time and time again, but God never will. So you hold on to that. And this verse that I shared in the beginning, I'll read it again. "Going through the motions doesn't please you." How many of us go through the motions every day and try to make it seem like we're all right, but inside it really hurts? "A flawless performance is nothing to you." I know I tried to be flawless on my own, and let me tell you, it doesn't work that way. You can't be flawless on your own. You're flawless through the blood of Christ. "I learned God worship when my pride was shattered." That one I've been meditating on for like a month, when my pride was shattered. Pride takes a lot of different forms, but my pride was just that I thought that I can do it without God, and I couldn't, and I tried to build me up by other people when I should have been pressing on to serve God and made my main purpose God and not myself. And the last part, "Heart-shattered lives ready for love don't for a moment escape God's notice." That one also is just, he was there the whole time. All I had to do was reach out my hand like Peter. So just something I'd want to leave you guys with is, here at the end, I've really kind of tried to give it over to God and step out of my comfort zone and go and talk to people that I might not necessarily have talked to for the whole beginning of my high school, which I completely regret, because they weren't part of the cool kids. But that goes along with the pride thing too. What makes you better than somebody else? It's not just so black and white. Everybody has a story. I had a few people fooled that I was all right, but I wasn't. everybody has a story, and I've learned, not that I don't have good friends, but this year I've branched out and made some really good friends that have taught me so much, and I've tried to make an impact in their life, but really they made the biggest impact in my life. So that's what I want to leave you guys with is, don't try to do it on your own. You can't do it without God. He'll always bring you back in a circle to him, whether it takes 2 years bringing you to your knees or you just saying, God, I give it to you. And go out of your comfort zone. Don't just stay in your little clique while you're in high school. That's my advice to you is there are some really beautiful people once you get to know them. So take the time to get to know some people that you wouldn't have talked to normally. That's what I have for you guys.
Hi, for you guys that don't know me, my name's Jacob Cooper. I'm going to talk a little bit about why I drove my nail into the cross. So, for you guys that don't know, I know some of you guys do. My mom is an alcoholic/drug addict. But I ask that none of you guys think any differently than her or condemn her, because we all have our own sin that we live in, and everyone has their own thing. So don't think any differently, please. But, you know, it's easy to get caught up in, like, what you're going through. And, like, you look at everybody here at Immanuel, and for me, anyways, when I first got here, I was like, man, these people's lives, they look good. You know, you're like, wow, must be nice, huh? So, but, like, it's like you're there, and you get caught up in anger. You get caught up in all these emotions, but, like, if you're not willing to give it over to God, then, like, you're going to continue to fall and not be able to get that satisfaction that you want, because, you know, you're continually going to be let down. And hold on. And it's just, it's not good, because, like, you're never going to get what you're actually wanting. And so, like, when I nailed my nail into the cross, it was me taking my struggles and giving it to God, saying, you know, like, God, can you please take this from me, because I'm tired of feeling the way that I feel. And yeah. But, like, everyone has their own struggle, and I don't want anyone to think my struggle is worse than yours or anything like that, because everyone has their own thing, and it's always rough. So you guys could be going through something completely different. But you have to be willing to give it over to God, and you have to be willing to, like, talk about it, because there's someone that's probably going through the same thing as you, most likely. It could be right next to you. So I would recommend, you know, talking to people, telling your story, letting them know how it is. And, you know, because people are there for you, whether you think so or not. They care a lot more than you would think. But, like, these trials and temptations and everything that we go through, this is actually all for a good thing, because it says in James 1:2-3, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials in many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. So know that the reason that God's allowing for this to happen is for you to become stronger in your faith, so that you can walk in this wretched planet and be able to go about and live for him, you know, even when it feels tough and you don't think you can make it through it. So, yeah, it's a short portion of my story. And then my life verse pretty much is Galatians 6:7. It's, do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. So if you're not willing to take that leap of faith and tell people your story and ask them to help you, or if you're not willing to give it over to God, then eventually it's going to be on you, because you're going to fail. You're not going to be able to get out of what you're going through if you try doing it alone. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Genesis. So first of all, I'm going to hit you with a question. What's brokenness? According to the dictionary, it's having been fractured or damaged and no longer in one piece or working order. Guys, I know some of us, including myself, we stand there with our arms open and our hearts are just broken, and our pieces of our heart is like in our eyes right here, and we just don't know what to do with it, and we just don't know who to turn to. We just don't know what to do because we're so broken. And those things that lead us to that brokenness is pride, covetousness, temptations, trying to fit in to things that you're not supposed to be doing, trying to fit in the right crowd. It's just, we are just all broken, guys. And broken things and broken people are the result of sin. This is true because my freshman year, I was completely broken, guys. I went through this really dark stage where I became very depressed. I had lost 2 really important people in my life, and it was just really hard for me. And then I went to a wedding in May, and some of my friends were there too. And I saw this love that was right before me, this unconditional love between this man and a woman. And I had been such in a dark stage that I just wanted to figure out what love was, what happiness was. I was just lacking that. And I told my parents, I said, what is that? How do you find this love? How do you find this joy? And they're like, Jen, I don't know. Like, I just don't know that. You know, that's a hard question. So we went to one of our family friends, and they introduced us to Immanuel. And I came to Immanuel, and I shadowed Zoe. And I was walking around this campus just looking at these kids and how, like, fulfilling their, like, hearts were for the Lord, and just how some kids were just trying to seek the Lord and just were passionate. And it hit me, like, I want to come here. I want to come here. So my sophomore year, I came, and it was really hard because I came and I didn't know anything about the Bible. I didn't know the stories. I didn't know what it meant to follow Christ. I didn't know any of that. And I was really like, I'm not going to go worship. I'm not going to do that. Like, that's dumb. I'm not like that. I don't know this God. He didn't help me when I was in that dark spot. I don't want to do this. So that was my sophomore year, and then we got to the cross section in sophomore year Bible, where a lot of you guys have just gone through. And I watched the Passion of the Christ, and I saw how Christ died on that cross and took our sins because he loved us. And it hit me hard. It was like hitting a wall. It was just this wall I hit. And I was just crying, and I told Mr. Thomas, like, I'm not worthy of that. I'm not worthy of that. And he was like, Genesis, we are all worthy of it. God seeks us. God wants a relationship with us, guys. And in Psalm 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Guys, he wants us. He wants a relationship with us. And if you come with him with your arms open, with your heart, and just be, God, mend this for me, he will. Because he loves you. And he loves you with an unconditional love. So, guys, what I'm trying to say is just don't look for other things. Don't look for worldly things to fix that broken heart of yours. Look up to the Lord. And also, I'm going to end with this, because the Cross Chapel was really big for me this year, because I'm transitioning from high school and college right now. And I'm going into this world, a lot of us are, where there's temptations, there's hurt, there's just everything out there. And including you guys go through it too. But when I was nailing that nail in the cross, I was just giving it to the Lord. And Lord, I know you're going to be there through all the hardships. And I want you guys to really do that and just be like, God, I need you. When you're in that stage of just feeling hopeless, just turn to the Lord and just pray and just say, God, I need you. So right now where you guys are standing, it's a perfect opportunity to get closer to the Lord. And please don't take advantage of it, because I did at some points. And I regret that. Guys, who comes 2 times a week to worship and learn about God and just have speakers? That's incredible. Who carries a cross to another church across the neighborhood and gets to worship for an hour and just have that connection with the Lord? That's amazing. But I just want to encourage you guys to keep going and don't lose hope. And whenever you're in those dark places, just turn to the Lord, because he is there and he's close to you, and he will fix any broken heart that you guys have, and he loves you. So that's what I have to say for you guys, but thank you. And right now, Spencer's coming out, so thanks, guys.
Hey guys, I'm going to talk about the peril of the sword today in Mark 4. It's in Mark 4, 3 through 9, if you guys want to follow along. It says, "Listen, behold, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured it. Other seed fell on rocky ground where it did not have much soil, and immediately it sprang up, since it had no depth of soil. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and since it had no root, it withered away. Other seed fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and it yielded no grain. And other seeds fell into good soil and produced grain, growing up and increasing and yielding 30-fold, 60-fold, and 100-fold. And what's really cool about this parable is Jesus actually explains it later on. He says, "Do you not understand this parable? How then will you understand all the parables? The sower sows the word, and these are the ones along the path. Where is the word? Where the word is sown. When they hear, Satan immediately comes and takes them away. The word is that sown in them. And these are the ones sown on rocky ground, the one who, when they hear the word, immediately receives it with joy, and they have no root in themselves, but endure for a while. Then when tribulation or persecution arises on account of the word, immediately they fall away. And others are the ones sown among thorns. They are the ones who hear the word, but the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches and desires for things enter in and choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. But those that were sown on the good soil are the ones who hear the word and accept it and bear fruit, 30-fold, 60-fold, and 100-fold. So not too long ago, I was at a senior retreat for all the seniors. Woo! And one of the really cool things we got to do was we got to take time and just go read the word. And this was the passage that they picked for us to read. And so I've read this thing like 1,000 times because I go to Immanuel, right? I mean, yeah. But this time it really stuck out because I'm a senior, and now I have to start like thinking about adult stuff and doing stuff like that, yeah. So what really stuck out to me was there's a really big similarity between the third and the fourth soil. The third soil and the fourth soil could be the same person, because what happens is the third soil could be anybody that hears the word, but immediately the cares of the world come in. And I'm just like anybody else. I have cares of the world. So one of the things I realized was being a senior, I had lots of stress choosing colleges and stuff. And I was like super stressed about choosing my college. And then one day my mom's like, "Well, did you pray about it?" And I'm like, "No." So I didn't even realize that cares of the world can be silly things that you don't even think about. And you let these things just come in, and they can grow and grow and grow, and it's just not good. So you have to be I think there's a big similarity between the third and the fourth soil, because God comes in and he plants a seed, but a lot of times I think we don't reach our full potential because I think everyone has their own crutch. But I mean, mine is stress. My mom said I look like a worried old man from the time I was born, but but if I let that come in and if I don't deal with it, then I'm not being fruitful or faithful in God. So if there's one thing I could say, I would say learn how to trust in God. He gives you a lot of tools to combat it. And the fourth, if you let go of the cares of the world, everyone knows what I'm talking about. Everyone's got their own thing to deal with. You can reach out to other people, 30-fold, 60-fold, 100-fold. What that means is how much the crop produces each season. So you can do God's work if you just let go. And don't be afraid to let go. I mean, yeah, I'm scared. But where's all the juniors at? Yeah, juniors. Woo! Next year, all these guys are gone, and everyone's going to look at you guys. Yeah. So don't be afraid to let go, guys, and just give it all to God. And then another thing I realized, Immanuel has really influenced me, especially, I've been in Immanuel since I became a believer, and I don't know, it's just been so much, but what I've learned is that when I'm vulnerable and when I admit to being broken, that God comes in, and through brokenness, kind of touching off what Genesis said, I think you're closer to God when you're in the middle of brokenness and you're vulnerable and you're willing to just let go. Yeah, that's what I have for you guys.
don't worry, guys. I'm not going to do a whole talk, or else we'd be here through third period. But I just wanted to pray and just wrap this up, and you guys can go enjoy break. Bow your heads with me. Dear God, thank you for just being here in this chapel, being here with all these people, with all the speakers, with the students and staff. I thank you for blessing Immanuel and all that you've given us, from our track teams to our football to our choir and everything in between. I pray to just help the people in this room just grasp what these speakers said and just move radically in their hearts, God. And I pray to just help us glorify and honor you in everything we do. Amen.